Admiral Yuna was eating dinner when the alert came through. She was sitting in her quarters aboard the flagship Eternal Dawn, enjoying a simple meal of rice and vegetables. At 62 years old, she had served in the United Earth Fleet for 4 decades. She had seen many things, but she had never heard the alarm that now filled her ship. It was the beacon alert, the sound that meant someone had used a forbidden signal. Yuna dropped her chopsticks and ran to the bridge. Her boots echoed against the metal floor as she moved through the corridors. Crew members stepped aside to let her pass, their faces showing the same confusion she felt. She burst onto the bridge and found her senior officers already gathered around the main screen. Commander Tay stood at the front, his arms crossed over his broad chest. He was a tall man with a shaved head and scars on his hands from years of combat training. "Report," Yuna said. "We received a transmission on the forbidden frequency approximately 7 minutes ago," Tay said. His voice was calm but serious. It came from a planet called Valari Prime, located in the outer rim of Sector 9. "Play it," Yuna ordered. The recording filled the bridge. Everyone fell silent as they listened to Elder Torn's desperate plea. His voice trembled with fear and sadness. He spoke about the Krath invasion, about the destruction of his world, about his hope that humans would help. When the message ended, no one spoke for a long moment. "The Krath Empire," said Captain Hana. She was younger than the others. Only 35, but she was brilliant at strategy. Her long hair was tied back in a tight bun. "I have heard of them. They are conquerors. They have destroyed at least 12 civilizations in the past century. And no one stopped them?" asked Lieutenant Day. He was the newest member of the senior staff, fresh-faced and eager. "No one could," Hana replied. "The Krath are powerful and they are ruthless. The other alien species are too afraid to stand against them." Yuna stared at the screen where Torin's message was still displayed. She thought about his words. "We are small and weak and frightened. We do not want it to die. Please save our children." "How far is Valari Prime?" she asked. "At maximum speed, approximately 18 hours, Tay answered. "That is too long," Yuna said. "Those people will be dead by then." "Admiral," Tay said carefully, "we should discuss this. The Krath Empire is not our enemy. We have had no contact with them. If we interfere in their conquest, we could start an interstellar war." "He is right," Hana added. "Earth has stayed neutral in galactic conflicts for generations. That neutrality has kept us safe." Yuna turned to face her officers. Her eyes were hard and determined. "I understand the risks, but I also understand what I heard in that message. Those are innocent people being slaughtered. They called for help, and we are the only ones who answered." "But Admiral," Tay began. "No," Yuna cut him off. "I know what everyone in this galaxy thinks about us. They think we are monsters. They think we are dangerous animals from a death planet. They stay away from us because they are afraid." She walked closer to the screen, her reflection visible in the glass. "Maybe it is time we show them what humans really are. Not monsters. Not animals. But protectors. Defenders. People who do not stand by while the innocent suffer." They stepped forward. "Admiral, I agree with you. My grandmother used to tell me stories about old Earth, about how humans would risk everything to save strangers. She said that was what made us special." Yuna nodded at the young lieutenant. "Your grandmother was wise." She turned back to the full bridge crew. "Here's what we are going to do. I want every ship in the United Earth Fleet to receive this message immediately. Every battleship, every cruiser, every fighter squadron. Everyone." "Admiral," Tay said. "That would be the entire fleet. Over 3,000 ships." "I know exactly what it is," Yuna replied. "And I want all of them heading to Valari Prime within the hour." The bridge fell silent again. This was unprecedented. The entire human fleet had never been mobilized at once. Not even during the Mars Rebellion or the asteroid crisis. Hana recovered first. I will coordinate with the other admirals. We will need to establish formation protocols for a fleet that size. Do it, Yuna said. Tay uncrossed his arms and moved to his station. I will calculate the optimal approach vectors. If we hit the craft from multiple angles, we can maximize our tactical advantage. Good thinking, Yuna said. Tay practically bounced with energy. I will prepare the ground forces. If there are survivors on Valari Prime, they will need medical attention and protection. Yuna allowed herself a small smile. Her crew understood. They felt the same thing she felt. The call to help. The need to protect. She pressed the button for fleet-wide communication. Her voice would now reach every human ship in the galaxy. Attention all vessels of the United Earth Fleet. This is Admiral Yuna speaking. Approximately 15 minutes ago, we received a distress signal from an alien species called the Valari. Their world is under attack. Their people are being killed. They ask for our help. She paused to let her words sink in. I know that Earth has a policy of non-interference. I know that many of you have never seen combat against alien forces. I know that some of you may think this is not our fight. Her voice grew stronger, but I believe differently. I believe that when someone cries for help, you answer. I believe that strength should be used to protect the weak, not to ignore them. I believe that being human means caring about more than just ourselves. She could imagine crew members across thousands of ships, listening to every word. The galaxy sees us as Deathworlders. They think we are brutal and dangerous. Today, we will show them the truth. We will show them that humans are the most loyal friends anyone could have. We will show them that when you call for a Deathworlder, you get an army. She took a deep breath. All ships, set course for Valari Prime. Maximum speed. We move in 1 hour. The Krath Empire is about to learn what happens when you threaten innocent lives in our galaxy. She ended the transmission and turned to her officers. Let us get to work. The next hour was controlled chaos. Messages flew between ships as captains coordinated their movements. Engineers pushed engines to their limits. Soldiers checked their weapons and armor in the hangar bay of the Eternal Dawn. Pilot Nari climbed into her fighter craft. She was one of the best pilots in the fleet, known for her calm under pressure and her impossible reflexes. As she settled into her seat, she thought about the Valari message. We are not strong like you, the elder had said. Nari smiled grimly. You do not need to be strong, she whispered to herself. That is why you have us. Across the fleet, similar scenes played out. Soldiers wrote quick messages to their families. Medics prepared their supplies. Engineers ran final checks on weapon systems. They were humans. They lived on a death planet. They breathed poison air. Their bodies were built for survival against impossible odds. And now, they were going to use every advantage evolution had given them to save people. They had never met in exactly the 1 hour mark. 3,000 human ships engaged their engines. The stars blurred around them as they accelerated to speeds that would terrify most species. Inside the ships, humans barely noticed the force. Their strong bones and dense muscles absorbed the pressure easily. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, watching the stars streak past. How long now? She asked. 16 hours at current speed, Tay reported. We pushed the engines harder than recommended. Good, Yuna said. Every minute counts. Those people are counting on us. She thought about Elder Torin, alone in his communication tower, waiting for help that might never come. Hold on, she thought. Just hold on a little longer. The Armada of Earth flew through the darkness of space, carrying with them the hope of an entire species. The Deathworlders were coming, and they were bringing everything they had. The first human railgun round crossed the distance between fleets in less than a second. It struck a craft cruiser at its center and punched straight through, exiting the other side in a shower of metal and fire. The ship broke apart instantly, its crew dead before they even understood what had happened. That was only the beginning. Lieutenant Day watched from the tactical station as the human fleet unleashed its fury. Thousands of weapons fired at once, creating a wall of destruction that washed over the craft formation. Shields flickered and died. Armor melted like ice in summer. Ships that had conquered dozens of worlds were reduced to burning wreckage in moments. "Advance all cruisers," Admiral Yuna ordered calmly. "Fighter squadrons engage their support vessels. Do not let any escape." The human ships moved with perfect coordination. They had trained for this kind of battle their entire lives. Every captain knew their role. Every crew member performed their duty without hesitation. Pilot Nari pushed her fighter forward, diving into the chaos of battle. Around her, other fighters formed up in attack patterns they had practiced 1,000 times. The craft defensive ships tried to intercept them, but their targeting systems could not track the human pilots. Nari was simply too fast, too precise, too good. She locked onto a craft gunship and fired. Her missiles struck true, and the enemy vessel exploded in a ball of flame. She did not celebrate. She simply moved to the next target. "Fighter Wing 3, clear those carriers," came the command from Fleet Strategist Jin. "Wing 7, provide cover for the battleships. Wing 12, I want those supply lines cut." The fighter pilots responded instantly. They swept through the craft formation like wolves among sheep, destroying everything in their path. On the bridge of the Dark Fist, Supreme Commander Vorak watched his fleet dying. His hands gripped the railing so hard that his knuckles turned white. This was not possible. The Krath Empire had never lost a battle so completely. "Return fire!" he screamed. "All ships, focus on their flagship." The remaining Krath vessels turned their weapons toward the eternal dawn. Hundreds of energy beams lanced across space, striking the human ship's shields. The shields held. Commander Tay checked the damage reports and almost smiled. "Shield integrity at 94%, Admiral. Their weapons are barely making a dent." "Human engineering," Yuna said simply, "built to survive a death world." She turned to her weapons officer. "Target their flagship. Full power to the main cannon." The Eternal Dawn's primary weapon was a massive electromagnetic railgun that ran the entire length of the ship. It took 30 seconds to charge fully. Those 30 seconds felt like an eternity to the Krath. "Commander Vorak," Yuna said over the communication channel, "you can still surrender. Call off your attack on the Volari, and we will let you leave with your lives." Vorak's face appeared on the screen, twisted with rage and fear. "Never. The Krath Empire does not surrender. We will fight to the last ship." "As you wish," Yuna said sadly. The main cannon fired. The round traveled at a fraction of the speed of light. It struck the Dark Fist with the force of a small asteroid. The flagship simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there. The next there was only an expanding cloud of debris where it had been. Supreme Commander Vorak died without even knowing it. His threats, his pride, his empire's ambitions, all of it ended in a single instant. With their commander dead and their flagship destroyed, the Krath fleet began to fall apart. Ships tried to flee, but human vessels blocked every escape route. Others fought with the desperation of the doomed, but their weapons could not penetrate human shields. Engineer Sue watched her power readings with satisfaction. Every system was operating at peak efficiency. The ships they had built, the weapons they had designed, the shields they had perfected, all of it was performing exactly as intended. "We are winning," she said quietly. "We are actually winning." Around her, crew members allowed themselves small smiles. They had come to save strangers, and they were succeeding. Down on the surface of Valari Prime, the Krath ground forces had no idea what was happening above. They continued their systematic destruction of Valari cities, killing anyone they found and taking whatever resources they could carry. In the communication tower, Elder Torin huddled with Bora and a handful of other survivors. The Krath soldiers had kept them alive for questioning, wanting to know more about the message they had sent. But the soldiers had left hours ago, called to reinforce other positions. What is happening? Bora whispered. The ground is shaking. Torin pressed his thin body against the window and looked up at the sky. What he saw made his 3 eyes go wide with wonder. The sky was full of fire, but it was not Valari fire. It was the Krath ships burning, exploding, dying. They came, Torin breathed. The Deathworlders actually came. New ships descended through the atmosphere. Human ships. They were not elegant or beautiful like Valari designs. They were blocky and practical, built for function over form. But to Torin, they were the most beautiful things he had ever seen. Landing craft touched down in the ruins of the city. Doors opened and humans poured out. They were terrifying to look at. Tall and solid, with dense muscles and heavy bones. They moved with a grace that seemed impossible for creatures of their size. Their eyes scanned constantly, alert for danger. Their hands held weapons that looked powerful enough to destroy buildings. Lieutenant Day led the first ground team. His squad moved through the shattered streets, clearing Krath soldiers with brutal efficiency. The Krath were strong by galactic standards, but they were nothing compared to Deathworlders that a Krath soldier charged at Day with a blade. Day caught the blade with his armored hand, twisted it away, and struck the soldier with enough force to send him flying backward into a wall. The Krath crumpled and did not get up. Spread out, Day ordered his team. Find survivors. Any Valari you find, protect them with your life. The human soldiers obeyed without question. They kicked down doors, searched through rubble, and carried wounded Valari to safety. Some of the aliens were terrified at first, thinking these monsters had come to finish what the Krath started. But then they saw the gentleness in the humans' hands. They felt how carefully the Deathworlders lifted them, how softly they spoke, how they shared their own water and food without being asked. One young Valari child, separated from his parents during the chaos, sat crying in the ruins of his home. A human soldier named Mira found him there. She was covered in dirt and blood, her face tired from hours of fighting. But when she saw the child, she knelt down slowly, making herself small and non-threatening. "Hey there," she said softly. "Are you hurt?" The child did not understand her words, but he understood her tone. He understood the kindness in her eyes. He reached out with trembling arms, and Mira picked him up gently, holding him against her armored chest. "I have got you," she whispered. "You are safe now. I promise." She carried him through the ruined city, protecting him with her body from any danger. Other soldiers saw her and did the same, gathering lost children and wounded survivors, treating them with a care that seemed impossible from such dangerous creatures. Back in orbit, the battle was ending. The last Krath ships either surrendered or were destroyed. The human fleet formed a protective ring around Valari Prime, daring any other threats to approach. Admiral Yuna surveyed the aftermath from her bridge. Hundreds of Krath ships drifted lifelessly in space. The invading fleet had been completely annihilated. Human losses were minimal, a few fighters damaged, some shield generators overloaded, but no ships destroyed and very few casualties. "Status report," she requested. "The Krath fleet is neutralized," Tay reported. "Ground teams are securing major cities. Casualties among the Valari are high, but we arrived in time to save many of them." Yuna nodded slowly. The weight of what they had done was settling on her shoulders. They had fought a battle that would change the galaxy forever. They had shown everyone what humans were capable of. "Begin humanitarian operations," she ordered. "I want medical teams on the surface immediately. Food, water, shelter, whatever they need. The Valari have suffered enough." "Yes, Admiral." Yuna looked out at the stars beyond the wounded planet. Somewhere out there, other civilizations were watching. Other empires were taking note. The Deathworlders had finally entered galactic affairs. She hoped they had made the right impression. "Admiral." Day's voice came through the communication system from the surface. "I have Elder Torin here. He wants to speak with you." Yuna allowed herself a small smile. "Put him through." A moment later, Torin's aged face appeared on the screen. Tears streamed from all three of his eyes. "Admiral Yuna," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "You came. You actually came." "Of course we came," Yuna replied. "You asked for help, but why? We are nothing to you. We have nothing to offer. Why would you risk so much for strangers?" Yuna thought about the question carefully before answering. "Because that is what it means to be human," she said finally. "We protect the weak. We fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. And from this day forward, Elder Torin, you are not strangers anymore. You are our friends. And humans will always come for their friends." Torin broke down completely, sobbing with relief and gratitude. "Thank you," he managed to say. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Yuna bowed her head respectfully. "Rest now, Elder. The worst is over. And tomorrow, we will help you rebuild." 3 days had passed since the battle. The sky above Valari Prime was no longer filled with fire and warships. Instead, it was dotted with human transport vessels, bringing supplies and aid to the wounded planet. Elder Torin stood at the entrance of a temporary shelter, watching the activity around him. Human soldiers worked alongside Valari survivors, clearing rubble and building new structures. Medical teams moved through the crowds, treating injuries with technology and skill that amazed the local healers. He still could not believe it. They had been saved, not by distant allies who shared their values, not by species they had traded with for generations, but by Deathworlders from a poison planet on the other side of the galaxy. A shadow fell over him, and Torin looked up to see Admiral Yuna approaching. She had come down from her flagship to inspect the relief efforts personally. She wore simple clothes now instead of her formal uniform, and there was tiredness in her eyes. But she still walked with the confidence of someone who knew exactly who she was. "Elder Torin," she said, bowing her head slightly. "How are your people doing?" "Better than I dared to hope," Torin admitted. "Your doctors have saved many lives. Your engineers are already helping us restore power to the northern districts. I do not have words to express our gratitude." Yuna smiled gently. "You do not need words. Seeing your people smile again is thanks enough." They walked together through the shelter camp. Valari children played nearby, their laughter mixing with the sounds of construction. Some of them ran up to human soldiers, fascinated by these strange aliens who had appeared from the stars to save them. The soldiers responded with patience and kindness, letting the children examine their equipment and teaching them simple words in human languages. "They are not afraid of you anymore," Torin observed. "Children adapt quickly," Yuna said. "They see actions, not reputations. They know we came to help, so they trust us." Torin stopped walking and turned to face the Admiral. His 3 eyes studied her carefully. "Admiral Yuna, I must ask you something. Something that has been troubling me since you arrived. Ask, why did you really come? I have heard your speeches about protecting the innocent and helping those who cannot help themselves. But surely there must be more to it. There must be some benefit for humanity in all of this." Yuna was quiet for a long moment. She looked up at the sky, at the distant stars, that held so many civilizations. Do you want the honest answer? She asked. Please. We came because we are lonely. Torin blinked in surprise. That was not the answer he had expected. Yuna continued, her voice soft. For as long as we have known about other life in the galaxy, other species have avoided us. They see us as monsters, dangerous predators from a death world. They trade with us from a distance. They study us through sensors, but they never truly interact with us. They never give us a chance to be anything more than what their fear tells them we are. She turned to look at Torin directly. When we received your message, we saw something different. We saw someone reaching out to us, not despite what we are, but because of it. You knew we were Deathworlders, and you called us anyway. You trusted that our strength could be used for good. Her eyes glistened with moisture. You have no idea how much that meant to us. To be seen as protectors instead of threats. To be asked for help instead of being pushed away. For the first time in generations, someone in this galaxy believed in us. Torin felt his own eyes filling with tears. He had never thought about it from the human perspective. He'd been so focused on his own people's survival that he had not considered what his desperate call might have meant to those who answered it. Admiral, he said slowly, we did not just call for protectors. We called for friends. And friends are exactly what we found. Yuna reached out and placed her hand on Torin's thin shoulder. It was a gesture of connection, of trust, of acceptance. Then let us make it official, she said. A formal alliance between Earth and Valari Prime. Not just military protection, but true partnership. Cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, diplomatic relations, everything. You would do that? Torin asked. After knowing us for only 3 days? We would, Yuna confirmed. Humans make decisions quickly. We do not waste time wondering if something feels right. And this feels right. Torin placed his own hand over hers. It was cool against her warm human skin, but the meaning behind the touch was universal. Then yes, he said. Yes, we accept. With all our hearts, we accept. News of the alliance spread quickly through the galaxy. Other species watched with amazement as the feared Deathworlders formed a bond with one of the weakest civilizations in known space. They expected the humans to demand payment, to take control, to exploit their new allies. Instead, they saw something else entirely. Human engineers worked without rest to rebuild Valari cities. Human teachers opened schools to share knowledge freely. Human doctors established clinics that treated anyone who needed care. Human soldiers stood guard against any threats, asking nothing in return except friendship. Bora, the young Valari, who had been with Elder Torin in the communication tower, found herself working closely with the humans. She was assigned to help coordinate between the two species, translating not just words but cultures. One evening, she sat with a group of human soldiers around a small fire. They were sharing stories, laughing about mishaps during the relief effort, talking about their homes and families back on Earth. Can I ask you something? Bora said to a soldier named June. He was middle-aged with kind eyes and a scar across his chin. Of course, June replied. When you received our message, were you scared? Jun thought about it. Not of the battle. We trained for battle our whole lives. What scared me was the idea that we might not arrive in time. That we would travel all this way and find nothing but graves. Bora shivered. We almost were nothing but graves. But you are not, Jun said firmly. You are alive. Your children are alive. Your future is alive. And we will make sure it stays that way. Why do you care so much? Bora asked. We are so different from you. Our bodies are weak. Our world is soft and gentle. We have nothing in common. Jun smiled. You know what I see when I look at your people? I see kindness. I see art and music and beauty. I see everything that humans fight to protect, but sometimes forget to create ourselves. You make the universe more wonderful just by existing. How could we not care about that? Bora felt warmth spread through her chest. She had grown up hearing stories about the terrifying Deathworlders. Now she was sitting beside them, sharing warmth and stories like old friends. The universe was stranger and more beautiful than she had ever imagined. Months passed. The Valari world slowly healed. Cities were rebuilt, gardens were replanted, and life began to return to normal, but with a significant difference. Human ships now patrolled Valari space. Human diplomats lived in Valari communities. Human researchers collaborated with Valari scientists. The two species, once strangers, had become closer than many civilizations that had known each other for centuries, and the galaxy took notice. Other weak species, those who had suffered under conquerors like the Krath, began to whisper among themselves. The Deathworlders had protected the Valari. Perhaps they would protect others too. Slowly, carefully, messages began to arrive at Earth. Not the forbidden signal, but ordinary communications. Requests for trade. Invitations to diplomatic talks. Cautious questions about possible alliances. Admiral Yuna, now promoted to Grand Admiral, addressed the United Earth Council about this development. For generations, we have been alone among the stars, she said. Other species feared us too much to approach us. We respected their fear and kept our distance. But that era is ending. She displayed images of the Valari Alliance, of humans and aliens working side by side. Our actions at Valari Prime showed the galaxy who we really are. Not monsters, not conquerors, but protectors, friends, allies, and now others are reaching out to us, hoping we will be the same for them. She looked around the council chamber. I believe we should answer every single one of those calls. Not because we want power or influence, but because it is the right thing to do. Because helping others is what makes us human. Because we have the strength to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And that strength is meaningless if we do not use it. The council voted unanimously to accept. On Valari Prime, Elder Torin received the news with joy. He stood on a balcony overlooking his rebuilt city, watching Valari and human children playing together in the gardens below. Bora joined him, her silver skin glowing in the sunlight. They did it, she said. They are going to help others too. I knew they would, Torin said. From the moment Admiral Yuna answered our call, I knew what kind of beings they were. What kind is that? Torin smiled, his three eyes warm with affection. The kind who run toward danger instead of away from it. The kind who see suffering and feel compelled to stop it. The kind who will cross a galaxy to save people they have never met. He turned to face her fully. They call themselves Deathworlders because of where they come from. But I think they should be called something else. Life-bringers, hope-givers, guardians of the galaxy. Bora nodded. Maybe someday, that is what everyone will call them. Someday, Torin agreed. But for now, let us just call them Watt Hour. The space around Valari Prime was quiet. The Krath warships floated in perfect formation above the burning planet, their weapons silent now that most of the resistance had been crushed. Supreme Commander Vorak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dark Fist, and smiled at the destruction below. The conquest was going perfectly. The Valari had no military to speak of. Their cities fell like paper structures in a storm. Soon, the entire planet would belong to the Krath Empire. Commander, said one of his officers, we detected an unusual transmission earlier. It was sent using an old frequency that we have never seen before. Vorak waved his hand dismissively. It does not matter. The Valari probably called for help from their pathetic allies. No one will come. No one ever comes. Yes, Commander. but the frequency was directed toward the Sol system. Vorak paused. He turned slowly to face the officer. Sol system? You mean Earth? Yes, Commander. For a moment, something flickered across Vorak's face. It might have been concern, but he quickly pushed it away. The humans are on the other side of the galaxy. Even if they wanted to help, they could not arrive in time. Besides, they have never interfered in galactic affairs before. They keep to themselves. As you say, Commander. Vorak turned back to the window. But somewhere deep in his mind, a small voice whispered warnings about the legendary Deathworlders. He ignored it. 16 hours later, the first alarms began to sound. Commander, an officer shouted. We are detecting multiple hyperspace signatures at the edge of the system. Vorak strode to the tactical display. How many ships? The officer's face went pale. Commander, the sensors must be malfunctioning. The readings cannot be correct. What do the readings say? Vorak demanded. They say 3,000 ships. The bridge fell completely silent. Every Krath officer stared at the display in disbelief. That is impossible, Vorak said. No species has that many warships. Run the scan again. I have run it 5 times, Commander. The number is accurate. 3,000 ships are emerging from hyperspace right now. The tactical display lit up like a festival night. Dots appeared across the screen, each one representing a ship. They filled the darkness of space around Valari Prime, spreading out in a perfect formation that spoke of careful planning and precise coordination. Identify the ships, Vorak ordered. His voice was less confident now. The officer worked his controls with trembling fingers. Commander, they are human ships. United Earth Fleet markings on all of them. Vorak felt his heart begin to race. The humans were here. All of them. Open a communication channel, he said. I want to speak with their leader. A moment later, a face appeared on the screen. It was a human female with gray hair and sharp eyes. She looked calm, almost peaceful, but there was something in her gaze that made Vorak uncomfortable. It was the look of a predator sizing up its prey. I am Admiral Yuna of the United Earth Fleet, the human said. You must be the Krath commander. I am Supreme Commander Vorak of the Krath Empire, he replied, trying to sound powerful. You are interfering in Krath business. The Valari world belongs to you now. I suggest you take your ships and leave before you start a conflict you cannot win. Admiral Yuna did not react to his threat. She simply tilted her head slightly, like she was examining a curious insect. We received a distress call from the Valari people, she said. They asked for our help. We are here to provide it. The Valari have no right to call for outside assistance. This is an internal matter. I disagree, Yuna said. When someone asks us for help, we come. That is simply what we do. Vorak laughed, but it sounded forced. You think 3,000 ships frighten me? The Krath Empire has conquered dozens of worlds. We are the greatest military power in this sector. I see, Yuna said. She paused for a moment. Tell me, Commander, what do you know about Earth? Vorak hesitated. I know it is a death planet. I know your kind evolved in impossible conditions. That is correct. Our gravity is stronger than most worlds. Our atmosphere would poison your lungs. Our planet is covered in predators and natural disasters. We have survived ice ages, meteor impacts, plagues, and countless wars against each other. She leaned forward slightly. Every human on these ships has spent their entire life fighting for survival. We train in conditions that would kill your soldiers in minutes. We can run for hours, fight for days, and heal from wounds that would be fatal to your species. Vorak felt a chill run down his spine. But that is not what should truly concern you, Yuna continued. What should concern you is that we came here for strangers. We traveled across the galaxy because an alien species we have never met asked for help. We did not hesitate. We did not debate. We simply came. Her eyes hardened. Now imagine what we would do for someone we actually care about. Imagine how far we would go to protect our friends, our families, our allies. And then understand this. From this moment forward, the Valari are under our protection. She sat back in her chair. You have one chance, Commander. Take your ships and leave this system. Never return to Valari space. If you refuse, we will demonstrate exactly why the galaxy calls us Deathworlders. Vorak's mind raced. He looked at the tactical display again. 3,000 human ships, each one crewed by beings who had evolved on a nightmare planet. Beings who chose to travel across the stars to fight for creatures they had never met. It was madness. It was terrifying. It was beautiful in a terrible way. You are bluffing, Vorak said, but his voice wavered. You would not risk war with the Krath Empire for these worthless Valari, would I not? Yuna asked. On every human ship, weapon systems came online. Railguns charged with electromagnetic energy. Missile bays opened their doors. Fighter craft launched from hangars like swarms of angry insects. Fleet strategist Jin coordinated from the eternal dawn, sending commands to every vessel. His fingers flew across his console as he arranged the human ships into attack formations. Engineer Sue monitored the power levels, making sure every weapon had maximum energy. She had spent her entire career preparing for a moment like this. Pilot Nari sat in her fighter, waiting for the order to engage. Around her, hundreds of other pilots did the same. They were the tip of the spear, the first ones who would strike. The Krath officers watched their own displays with growing horror. The human ships were not like anything they had seen before. They were built for war in a way that seemed almost aggressive. Heavy armor, oversized weapons, engines that burned with incredible power. Commander, one of the officers whispered, our fleet is outnumbered, and our intelligence reports suggest that human ships are significantly more powerful than ours. Vorak wanted to argue. He wanted to believe that the might of the Krath Empire could defeat these Deathworlders. But deep down, he knew the truth. He had heard the stories. Stories about humans who kept fighting with broken bones. Stories about human ships that continued attacking even when half their systems were destroyed. Stories about the incredible loyalty that humans showed to their allies. He had always thought those stories were exaggerated. Now, looking at 3,000 warships filling the sky, he was not so sure. Commander, Admiral Yuna said, I am waiting for your answer. Vorak looked at the screen showing the burning Valari cities below. He thought about all the resources they had come to take. All the territory they had planned to claim. Was it worth it? Was it worth facing an enemy like this? He opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, a young Krath officer made a terrible mistake. Panicked by the situation, he fired a single shot at the nearest human ship. The shot bounced harmlessly off the human vessel's shields, but the damage was done. Admiral, Yuna's expression did not change, but her next words sent ice through every Krath heart. So be it. She turned to her officers. All ships, weapons free. Show them what Deathworlders can do. And the sky above Valari Prime erupted into fire. The sky above the Valari homeworld burned orange and red. Ships fell from the clouds like dying stars. Elder Torn stood at the window of the communication tower and watched his world come to an end. The Krath Empire had arrived 3 days ago. They came without warning. They came without mercy. Their massive warships blocked out the sun, and their soldiers marched through Valari cities like a dark flood. The Valari were not fighters. They had never been fighters. Their bodies were thin and delicate, built for art and science and peaceful living. They stood no chance against the Krath. Torin turned away from the window. His 3 eyes were wet with tears. Behind him, the last working communication system hummed quietly. It was old technology, something they had kept only for emergencies. Now it was their only hope. "Elder," said a young Valari named Bora. She was barely an adult, her silver skin still smooth and unmarked by age. "The Krath are approaching the eastern district. We have maybe 2 hours before they reach this tower." Torin nodded slowly. His old bones ached. He had lived for 200 years, and he had never seen such darkness. "Have we received any response from the Allied worlds?" Bora looked down at the floor. "The Mandari said they cannot help. The Krath are too strong. The Pelori sent their regrets. The Yaxan disconnected their communication channels completely." "So we are alone," Torin said. "There is one option left," Bora said quietly. She looked scared to even speak the words. "The forbidden signal." Torin felt his heart grow cold. He knew what she meant. Every species in the galaxy knew about the forbidden signal. It was a frequency that reached a single planet on the far edge of known space. A planet that no one visited. A planet that everyone feared. Earth. The humans lived there. They were the stuff of nightmares. Stories said that Earth was a death world, a planet so hostile that nothing should survive there. The gravity was crushing. The atmosphere was filled with a poison called oxygen. The surface was covered in dangerous water and extreme temperatures. Storms raged across its lands. Predators hunted in every corner. And somehow, the humans had not only survived there, they had thrived. Torin had heard the stories. Humans could run for hours without stopping. Their bodies healed from wounds that would kill any other species. They ate the flesh of other creatures. They drank a liquid that was toxic to most life forms and called it water. They were afraid of almost nothing. Most terrifying of all, humans formed emotional bonds with anything. They would adopt dangerous predators as companions. They would risk their lives for strangers. They would fight to the death to protect creatures they had just met. The galaxy had agreed long ago to leave Earth alone. The forbidden signal existed only for the most desperate situations. No one had ever used it. "If we call them," Torin said slowly, "we do not know what will happen. They might ignore us. They might come and destroy us themselves. They are Deathworlders, Bora. They are not like us." "I know," Bora said. "But what choice do we have? The Krath will kill us all. At least with the humans, there is a chance. Maybe a small chance, but still a chance." Torin closed his eyes. He thought about his grandchildren, hiding in the underground shelters. He thought about the beautiful libraries full of ancient knowledge. He thought about the gardens where his wife had once walked before she passed away. All of it would be gone if he did nothing. He opened his eyes and walked to the communication panel. His thin fingers trembled as he entered the forbidden frequency. "What should I say?" he asked. "Tell them the truth," Bora said. "Tell them everything." Torin pressed the transmission button and began to speak. "This message goes to the planet called Earth, to the species called humans. My name is Torin, and I am an elder of the Valari people. We are a peaceful species. We have never made war. We have never harmed anyone. And now we are dying." He paused to steady his voice. "The Krath Empire has invaded our world. They want our resources. They want our land. They do not care about our lives. We have asked the Allied worlds for help, but no one will come. Everyone is afraid of the Krath." Outside the window, another explosion lit up the sky. Torin continued speaking. "We know that your world is far away. We know that you do not know us. We know that you have no reason to help us. But we have heard stories about your kind. Stories that say you are protectors. Stories that say you help those who cannot help themselves." Bora wiped tears from her eyes as she listened. We are not strong like you. We cannot breathe your poison air or survive your crushing gravity. We are small and weak and frightened. But we are also alive. We have families. We have hopes and dreams. We do not want to die. Torin felt his voice breaking. Please, if there is any kindness in your hearts, if the stories about humans are true, please help us. We will give you anything we have. We will do anything you ask. Just please. Please save our children. He released the transmission button. The message was sent. It would travel across the stars at speeds that seemed impossible, reaching Earth in just a few hours thanks to the quantum relay system. Now what? Bora asked. Now we wait, Torin said. And we pray. The next 2 hours were the longest of Torin's life. He sat in the communication tower with Bora and a handful of other survivors. They listened to the sounds of battle growing closer. They heard screams in the distance. They smelled smoke drifting through the vents. The Krath soldiers reached the base of the tower. Torin could hear them breaking through the doors below. Heavy footsteps echoed up the stairs. Elder, Bora whispered. They are coming. Torin stood up straight. If he was going to die, he would die with dignity. He would not give the Krath the pleasure of seeing him afraid. The door to the communication room burst open. 3 Krath soldiers stood there, their dark armor gleaming, their weapons raised. They were tall and muscular, built for war. Their faces showed no emotion. You are the Elder? The lead soldier asked. I am, Torin said. You sent a transmission. We detected it. Who did you call? Torin smiled. It was a small smile, but it was real. I called the Deathworlders. The Krath soldier laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. The humans? They are on the other side of the galaxy. They will never come. And even if they did, what could they do against the might of the Krath Empire? I do not know, Torin admitted. But I think you should be afraid. The soldier raised his weapon. Foolish old creature. Prepare to die. At that exact moment, the communication panel lit up. A new signal was coming in. Torin turned to look at it. His heart's pounding in his chest. The screen displayed a simple message in the universal language. Message received. Armada, dispatched. Hold on, we are coming. The Krath soldier stared at the screen. For the first time, there was something other than confidence in his eyes. There was doubt. There was fear. Torin's smile grew wider. They answered, he whispered. The Deathworlders answered.